Hello, fellow artists. Hope everybody was able to do the other classes this week. We are wrapping up discussions on layout and backgrounds and things of that nature. And then next week, I know for my class, it's going to be mostly like a studio class where we're working on our projects because we want to get those done by the end of the month. So we are all doing, I don't think we have any newcomers, but just in case we do, we are all doing a comic book page of our own story, and we are combining them into an anthology book. So everyone's going to have their own story that they work on for the whole month with their own characters. And we're also talking about celebrating female artists. So we've been bringing in a lot of female artists and then talking about different concepts that they work with. So I just picked this up today. You guys have noticed the Tea Dragon Society. I have not read this book or series yet, but I knew I had to talk about backgrounds today, and I was looking at this, and there's some really interesting things. This artist, Katie O'Neill, there's some interesting things that she does with backgrounds. So a lot of times with comic artists is they're really interested in story, they're really interested in character because comic books are all about storytelling. They're less interested in drawing backgrounds. So you've probably noticed when you read comics, or if you've tried to draw comics before, that it'll tend to be very talking based, and it will just be like a box with a blank background, and it's just character talking heads, right? So it's one panel with the character talking and a speech bubble, and then another panel with the character talking and a speech bubble, and it's like that over and over and over again. That's fine. You can get away with that in comic books more than other mediums. They'll tend to have very minimal backgrounds because what people are there for is the story and the characters. But it does tend to get kind of repetitive and boring if the backgrounds are so minimal that it's just blank. So we're going to try to up our backgrounds for this class and see some things that we can do to make them a little more interesting. Yes, I have not read this book all the way through either, so no spoilers for the Tea Dragon Society, but we are going to look a little bit at the art style and how this artist approaches doing backgrounds. So I have thumbnailed a couple pages for us to look at that I thought were interesting. First of all, let's look at this panel up here. For those of you who are new to comic book lingo, these boxes are all called panels. That's all that means. So here we have, like I said, a talking head. This character is talking, there's the speech bubble, and there really isn't anything particular in the background, it's just one color. But what this artist chose to do is wherever there's a talking head, they would draw these little leaves, these little plant things. And that's because this story is about tea. You know, I think the premise is the dragons will grow plants from their horns, and they use that to make tea. So they took a theme from their story and from their characters and just incorporated it into the background. They just made this nice design, and it's a little bit different every single time. That creates visual interest. I think they tend to do different flowers for different characters, so they match the characters. It's really, really interesting. And it's so much more visually interesting than just having a blank background. Like, they could have just left the background this maroon color and called it a day, but they didn't. You know, they added a little bit of that visual interest. Another thing that they do, and it's similar to the artist that I've been looking at. Let me try to get more light on this thing so you can see it a little bit easier. Okay. They'll use silhouette, like I talked about last time, and basic shapes really, really well. So we have here a few layers. We have a foreground layer right here that has our characters in it. That has the most detail, right? So all the little tiny flowers and sprigs and things like that. You know, that's one layer. Then they have another layer back here, and there's a bunch of houses and stuff, but you know, it gets a lot less detail because it fades into the background. They're just color blobs, that's it. And then backgrounds, the clouds, just one big shape of clouds, and then one big shape of sky. And that's it. So she orders the amount of detail in each layer really effectively, and it ends up making less work for herself. The most work that she puts in is for the foreground layer where it really matters, because that's where all the information is. But she doesn't leave the background layers blank either. She puts just enough in there to create visual interest and to create information, like this path is going to the town, really, really well. Let me turn the page. So you can see here with these bushes a little bit more easily. Just two colors on these, really effective. There's one big silhouette, and that's that dark green that fills up most of the panel. And then overlapping on top of it, there's a layer with a lighter green, still really strong silhouettes of whatever this plant is. I have no idea what this plant is supposed to be, but you know, they're leaves, right? Very simple, but very effective with these backgrounds. All right, check this one out on top. So it's a good idea every once in a while in your comic, especially when you're changing location, to have a panel. It's like in movies, they're called establishing shots, maybe like establishing panels, just saying where everybody is, right? So this character is walking to this house, and we still have those layers. There's like a foreground layer that's sort of like if you combine the house with this pathway, that gets a ton of detail, and you can see the flowers are overlapping. And then this pathway that the character's on is like another layer, a midground layer. And then this background wants to feel like a forest, right? And to make it feel like a really lush forest, they just layered different colors of bushes and plants and trees. And whatever's supposed to be further back gets a lighter color. So if we compare this tree is in front of this tree, and the reason we know that is just because it's darker and a little bit bigger. Lighter, lightest most of all. And then it's actually faded out. She didn't finish drawing the rest of the tree, but you don't even notice. It actually makes it feel more lush because of that layered technique of layering on top. So it's kind of like, it's a combining of concepts from last time as well. Really strong silhouettes with the trees. The tops of these trees are kind of combined into one layer, but because the edges are a little specific, you can kind of see different blobs where each leaf is going to be. You know, you can get away with just making one big shape, but it still feels really lush, like a dense forest. I think I had one more thing marked off. Let's look at that. Oh yeah. Yeah, I love her colors. So like, look at this really skinny panel. Really, really effective nighttime thing with that like purple sky. The horizon line's low, and there's not a lot of detail on these things, right? She just put them in as little blobs, but because we're supposed to be far away, you know, your mind just kind of reads as like, oh, we're far away from, you know, this building or this town, right? So simple, effective colors. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna finish reading the rest of this book. So no one spoil me if you have read the Tea Dragon Society. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do a breakdown, I think of this panel just on my own paper. I'm gonna have to orient myself a little bit better. And then I'm gonna try to use the same concept on my own background. let's see if I can maybe put it side by side. I'm probably not going to get both on camera at once, but let's see what I can do. So for you guys, for your own stories, be thinking about what kind of environments that you would want to draw. Obviously, you're not going to redraw the whole environment for every panel of your story. You're probably going to want to do some kind of establishing panel, you know, like this one, and then it goes inside the house, and then where the characters are talking, you know, maybe there's less of a background. Block this off. And then, all right, let's do it like this. I am drawing on top of the book, but I've added a ton of papers, so I don't, if I push down really hard, it's not going to damage the paper in any way. So if you are going to do a study on a book that you have, just make sure you protect the book. I'm going to be really rough with this. I'm just trying to get the general idea of how this background was created. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to look for is where the horizon line is. If you've had other background classes with us before, you probably know what a horizon line is. Basically, it's just where the ground separates from the sky. And you can think of this light green in the back as sky. You know, sky doesn't have to be blue all the time. But for me, I'm feeling it's about right here. It's kind of in the lower third of the panel. Usually it's better with horizon lines to put them, let's put it a little higher. Usually it's better with horizon lines to put them in the top third of the panel or the bottom third of the panel. Usually they don't go in the middle. And then for this layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just divide this panel up into thirds as well. Just to give myself some proportions. You can also do quadrants as well. Divide them up into fourths. I like thirds. So this third is going to have the house. This third is going to have this character. And this third is just going to be more forest. Hopefully you can see my fingers there. All right. So I'm actually going to start with what I consider to be the midground layer, just because of all the overlap. And then I'm going to be really rough with this. I'm not going to do complete characters the way that she did on the final. I'm just going to say, okay, let's just say there's the character walking. And then over here, there's the bridge. And then the house is over here. So I'm just trying to get general shape and placement. It's not going to look as nice as the final. I'm just trying to figure out how this panel was planned out. And then we have another character over here inside the house. So it looks like there's a bank here and then a river. I'm going to draw the shape of the river and then readjust this bridge. Kind of goes down here like that. I'm not going to get it exact. Just trying to get it in general. Okay. And so we have our horizon line, and then there's some bushes and things. That hop up like that. So every time you have hills or mountains, they're going to touch the horizon line and then go above them. So it's not like this is entirely sky and this is entirely ground. The hills are going to pop up a little bit. And then I'm going to draw the layer of trees, just the leaves as one big chunk, one big layer. You know, and then I just moved my pencil around to give it a little bit of interest. You can just go here, here, you know, as one line. There's kind of the general shape of the trees. And then she has these fun trunks, so I'm just going to draw some lines. For all of the really dark branches that I see, I'm going to consider that one layer. And again, they're not going to be the same. Just trying to get the idea of like, oh, here are some tree trunks. I'm just making them squiggly. Whenever I have to do something that's organic, I'll make my lines a little bit squiggly. Okay. Let's draw this pathway. Just make straight. And then clean this up a little bit so it's easier to see. Okay. So now I'm going to just go further back and then I'll do the foreground layer. So we have more trees. Actually, before I do that, let's color this in. Just so I can tell the layers apart. Again, I have a lot of papers underneath this, so I'm not going to bleed. The markers aren't going to bleed through. I'll just do all that green. It's okay. I'm not copying exactly. I'm just trying to understand where the layers go. So we'll have green trees. And then I'm going to draw layers behind it. Oh, my markers in different spots. That one's darker. I want the foreground layer, the one that's closest to the viewer, to be the darkest one. So that's why I'm going like, oh, this green's darker. Let's make this the layer color. So the lighter green goes behind, the darker green goes in front.
I would like to share something.
Oh, sure.
I just wanted to share a dragon I'm working on for my comic because I got really behind and actually didn't realize I had 2 full more dragons to design till like yesterday night when it was time to go to bed.
Yeah, you got to design all the dragons. Nice. So
Yeah.
is this the older dragon?
This would be the mother dragon. I'm gonna add
mother
a little
dragon.
bit more curves once I have the things, and then so this is going to be a hive wing, as referenced by the 2 wing joints right there.
Okay.
And then the father is going to be a sea wing. It's going to be a hybrid.
Ooh, that's gonna be cool. That's awesome. Where do you think your story is going to be set? Is it going to be more of a forest, or are these going to be like water dragons, or are they more...
So I took my concept from Wings of Fire, and I actually just decided to set it on the like cliff top. So there's my first 2 finished sketched panels and my in progress one.
Oh,
And
awesome.
not started one yet, and then the rest of the half of the page that I have left to do.
That's awesome. While we're looking, does anybody else also want to share what they have so far with their stuff? Thanks for sharing, Kat. Okay. All right, I'm just very quickly going to add some more tree trunks. Very simple shapes. And then there's also more hills back here. So I'm just going to color those in. I'm using very basic colors or markers just so I can get this really quickly, get this in really quickly. I'm not going to be as detailed as the actual one. Just so you can see where all the layers are. Here's a layer. I'm not going to color the character. Let's just go through. And then we have this nice light green. Oh, yay. I was worried this would be too dark. It's a little too dark. I really like seeing unconventional sky colors in art. So what this green does for here, it makes it look like the forest is even more dense just by adding in that one color. Now for this front background, there's a huge tree right here, and then more bushes with more detailed flowers and things cropping up. And then this layer has the most overlap. So there's flowers that actually come up over here like this. There's flowers that overlap with the character. I'm drawing really, really rough so I can get this in quickly. They overlap like this. And that also gives the feeling of denseness, right? So over here, and then it also frames the actions. So a good thing to look for in really good backgrounds is they will frame and tell you where to look. So over here, there's not really anything happening. I'm going to find a brown. So what the artist does is they stick this huge tree right here overlapping. That still sticks with the theme, but look what happens. It just kind of pushes your eye in here towards where the character is and where all the action is happening. I'm gonna go back. They're very similar colors. My marker supply is not the best. I have like general colors, but they do come in handy when I want to do things like this, which just outline very quickly the different layers that go into something. And then let's just get the light green in here for this pathway.
Naylene, there's a question in the chat regarding the lesson. Okay, what do I do?
Just watch what I'm doing.
Yeah, just follow along or work on their own.
Yeah, you can follow along. I know everyone has their own story with their own places, right? So you're not going to have like necessarily a forest. Think about how you can apply this stuff to what you're working on, right? So how can you add layers to the backgrounds that you are working on? Let's make this a little darker. I'm just going to do the whole house this color just to make it simple. Almost done. Okay. So that's my simple study for this panel, kind of trying to see how it works. Obviously, I didn't go as much into detail. I'm just trying to understand where everything is placed. So if you have a scene like this, or just anything where you're showing an establishing shot, try to think of how you can apply the same layer technique to what you're doing. So somebody give me a setting or an environment. Carnival, cool. All right, I'm going to use the same horizon line. So I'm going to keep it kind of low. So what kind of things would go in a carnival? You'd probably have like, usually there's like tents, so you'd have coverings, there's games, there's like food carts, maybe like signs. So let's just say, just to kind of show a parallel, I'm going to put a tent right here. Maybe there's like a shop right here. With an opening like that. And then like maybe we can still have, just to keep it consistent, our character walking over that way. And then in the midground layer, instead of like hills and things like that, let's think of what else we can put in there. Maybe there's a pathway that goes down like this, and there's a bunch of other carts going back further into space. So they're going to get layered on top of each other like that. And this one's going to be really dark because it's in front. And it's also going to have the most detail. So maybe there's like a sign out front or something. I don't know, whatever. It's been a while since I've been to carnival. And then maybe there's like a trash can back here. You know, so you just think of things that you can put into each layer. And then the ones that are in the middle get a medium amount of detail. The ones that are in the back get less detail. They can be almost like blobs. Let's say like maybe there's a Ferris wheel back here. So I'm just going to draw a circle. And then there's going to be a lot of people, right? So we can draw little blobs, you know, that would represent the people. Maybe there's like little blobs walking around. And then like maybe let's move this trash can. I'm going to put a pole right here. And then we'll move the trash cans over. Always move stuff around. Then over here on our horizon line, we'll just draw like the outline of other games and things. I'm just going to make it really squiggly, just to fill in the space. And maybe there's a lot of people cluster around this one area. Yeah, it's interesting whenever you have something where there's a lot of people, you know, and you want to just fill in the space, you can just throw in more people. Maybe there's like someone standing right here against our pole to kind of fill in the area. Maybe there's trash that I want to put in the foreground layer around places. Background, let's say there's clouds. I'm going to draw another bubble of clouds. Maybe someone is holding like a prize that they won. Back. I don't know. Can anybody think of anything else that should go into a carnival background? Before we move on to another one.
Cotton candy.
Cotton candy, that's cool. Let's do. Let's put it over here, because I don't have that much over here.
Also mentioned in the chat, clowns.
Clowns. So someone like eating cotton candy, little bubble. Let's do, where can we put a clown? I want to leave this space open because that's where our character is going to go. Let's say like maybe over here. We'll do like a clown face. And the tent is a clown face. Cotton candy ice cream churros. Yeah, so maybe these could all be like different food carts. Churro. As we go down, like maybe they could all be different food carts. Okay, I also saw one, there's my bleed sheet. Let's get rid of the book for right now. So cities are good with layers as well. It's just instead of layers of plant life, there are layers of buildings. Ooh, actually, let's orient it this way. Let's make it vertical. Again, I'm going to put the horizon line very low. So let's like say this is a street. And then we have our character is walking through the street. So now we're going to have a bunch of buildings. So I'm going to draw a door. You know, maybe it has like the thing, the like awning or whatever hanging over it.
And could you move the art up just a little, please?
Oh yeah.
Oh, perfect. Thanks.
Here? Okay. And then there's like a sign. Maybe there's a pole. This is going to be like the crosswalk pole that they're walking to. So like maybe they're going to walk across the street this way. Then I don't know what the shape is. Let's just say these are buildings over here. And then there's going to be more buildings filling up the background. So you don't really see a lot of sky. You know, like I just made that up. Green. I want red. Okay, so it's a little bit darker. That was bright. I didn't want one that was so bright. So I'm just mapping out like this front layer here. I'm just going to cover it just so you can get an idea of where the layers are. Wee, sorry, person. So let's just say this front layer, this like mid layer is this purple, where a character is walking. This is black, yeah? Yeah. There's our character walking. Here is the pole that is in the foreground. And the street. This is like the brightest city. No city is this color, but we just want to see where the layers are. Yeah, it's tiny, a little bit lighter. So you can kind of see the different stripes. They go further and further back in space to make it feel like it's clustered with buildings. And you could do like windows. Maybe there's a bunch of windows over here. If we want to make it more like crowds of people, it's the same thing. Very messy today. We just want to have some way that our main character walking is going to stand out among the crowds of people. So maybe you can have everybody walking the other way. I'm just going to draw some heads and then kind of connect them. Maybe this guy's holding a briefcase, right? So these are, I call them human blobs. Sometimes in, especially in animation, just because it's so time consuming to draw all those details, they'll draw these like blobs. Let's say this is a stadium. And you have a bunch of people in an audience. They'll draw layers and layers of these blobs that are all supposed to represent humans. And so you might see some faces in the front, but then the rest will just kind of trail off into different blob layers. And that will be the shorthand for drawing people, you know, so you can draw people blobs. Let's say this person, let's make them waiting at the light again. So I'm going to draw them bigger. So they're in front and they're waiting at the light. And a bunch of people are walking past them. So then we can draw people blobs. Maybe this is two people walking together. I'm not going to draw a lot of detail. And then we can put like some shapes back there. Kind of cover up that space. And then the darkest layer is up here. So if you're doing backgrounds for your stories, you don't have to jump to the finished background right away. You can do little tests like this and kind of organize what's going to go where. And then when you do your final background with all the detail in it, you'll know what needs the most work. It's this darker area, and then the rest you can kind of leave to fade in to the background. Fill up the space. So I want to see where you guys are at so far with your stories, if anybody has any questions or anything like that. We only have 15 minutes now. Oh my goodness. Does anybody want to share what they have so far?
Here's Kat.
Hey, Kat.
Well, I kind of wanted to share what I've gotten done with the dragons so far.
Uh-huh.
By trying to figure out how 4 wings will fold is hard. Especially since they're a different shape than the ones in the graphic novel. So I don't really have images to base myself off of, and I just have to go up what I think would be physically correct, whatever the word is.
Uh-huh. What kind of wings are you going for? Like, do you have a shape in mind, or
well,
do you think they'd be
the
like
wings on the the wings on the official model are kind of like that, kind of buggish butterfly kind of.
Oh, okay, so they're like butterfly wings. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking, because I know like bats will fold their wings, butterflies will like flap their wings. I don't know if they fold their wings too, so that might be why you're having trouble finding like reference images for them.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see what we can do. So when they're stretched out, the shape is like that. And then like that's the body. So normally when I think of wings folding, it's like a part that comes up and a part that comes down like that. So this is all behind. And then it's in two pieces. So I don't know if you'd want to like double it. So this is the body, just for reference. I don't know if that would work, or maybe just drawing the wing like wrapped around the dragon. I should draw a whole dragon if I'm going to do this. Like if this is the dragon's body, maybe just drawing the wings wrapped around the body would work. Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody can think of a solution for how Kat's dragon should fold the wings. Yeah, because in real life they may not fold this way, but we have like a fantasy character, so we just kind of have to figure out what would look cool. Maybe it's more like this. It's like bug wings. You know. Hopefully, Kat, that gives you something to try out. Yeah, okay. So you have a suggestion that maybe they get pulled to the back. So maybe like this. I don't know if that's what you're thinking. So here's one layer. Here's one part of the wing, like the big part, and then there's the little part of the wing. Maybe like that. That's what you're thinking? Okay, cool. Yeah, I do like that because it's out of the way and it looks less like it's a weird shape when it drapes over. That's a little cleaner. So maybe go with that. Yeah. Hopefully. Kat, does that help? Does that give you some things to try out?
Yes, thank you.
Very cool. Okay, Scott, did you see if anybody had their hand up next?
Yes, there was another share. Hold on a second.
Well, I didn't do that much, but I finally found an idea for why Blocko's friend.
Cool. So is this your Blocko character, or is that his friend? I didn't quite hear.
That's why Blocko was chosen.
Why was Blocko chosen?
Because he doesn't have an on and off switch.
Oh, okay. So the rest of them have an off switch.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And that's what you're using for your story, right?
Yeah.
All right, excellent.
Here's Laura.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, give me a moment. So this is just a panel for one of the panels on my comic, and I'm currently drawing Kalani. So yeah.
Nice character, nice hair. Was this the one that you designed?
Jay designed this one actually.
Jay designed this one. Excellent. Awesome.
Yeah. He did a very good job.
Yeah. So where was the setting for yours? Because I know you're all doing different stories with the same character.
For mine, it's kind of a loose setting, but it's a bit undecided at the moment, but yeah.
Okay, what happens in your story? I know you gave us the summary before, but
I'm gonna keep it a secret for now, and it's gonna kind of be like a
you
reveal
keep it a
at the end, but yeah.
secret. All right, all right. Does anybody else want to share?
Here's Tater Tot. Sorry,
Hello.
Tater.
Once again, let me pull up stuff over here since I am doing mine digitally. So just give me a quick sec.
Mhm.
And there we go. Yeah, working on
Nice.
the second page right now. So
Yeah. So you got your layout all, but no backgrounds yet. So
yeah, most of the blue is stuff I still need to color. So
yeah. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you.
Next up is Jay.
Hello, I
Hello, Jay.
just kind of working on my layout, so yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I like how rough you are to start out with. That's how you do it. Is that on the bottom, is that a piano or is that a
No, it's just a table.
table? Okay.
It kind of
Totally.
looks like a piano roll.
Yeah, because it looked like someone was behind it. So I was like, wait a second. Very cool. Yeah, I like how rough you're being to start out with. That's a good place to be. Excellent. All right. And did we miss anybody?
Anybody else?
All right. Very cool. So next week, if I'm not mistaken, I believe everybody is doing page work. So actually getting your comic page done, because that is coming up. We want to get this wrapped up before the end of the month. So if you need time to work on your comic, just come to the classes and you can work on your comic. Scott, can you put up the donation link again for this class, because I forgot to do it in the beginning? Yeah, so everybody knows the drill. We're trying to keep all of these classes free, so donate what you can. Thank you for the people who have donated. That really helps keeping us going. Yeah, if you haven't started your comic yet, just to get everything together that we've been doing the last couple of weeks, there's no real strict guidelines to it. You can really do just whatever story you feel like doing. The teachers, we all pick different artists that inspire us, and we're going to do something based on that. So I'm doing a fairy tale adaptation, but everybody's doing different things. So don't feel like you have to do something to like fit in with a thing. It's all going to be random, and the only thing that's similar is just all the Chuck Jones people worked on it. So all right, any other questions about next week before we end class? Yeah, if you guys weren't here for the last time we did comics, it turned out really awesome. So I'm really excited to see what everybody can come up with. All right, well, have a great week, everybody. I will see you next Friday. Thank you, Scott.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.